Hello, Zalto Live listeners. Before we get started, we wanted to let you know that more teachings from Zen monk Claude AnShin Thomas are available in his two books, At Hell's Gate, A Soldier's Journey from War to Peace, and Bringing Meditation to Life, 108 Teachings on the Path of Zen Practice. Both are available wherever books are sold, and all proceeds go to the Zalto Foundation, dedicated to promoting nonviolence, awareness, and positive change.
Hello and welcome to Zalto Live, the podcast featuring Zen Buddhist monk Claude AnShin Thomas, who will share with you his life experiences that includes not only military combat, personal violence, and addiction, but also healing, transformation, and the ongoing joy of everyday life. Please enjoy listening.
So, a question that was mailed in. What impresses me, especially in Fayan Wenyi's teaching? I've said that so many times. Yes, listen. Question from the group. Gavi.
How was your perception of Pope Francis?
I didn't really have one. Yes, he practices in another tradition. And I guess, I hope he didn't suffer too much. Because I know they worked hard to keep him alive. And I could see by the photos just before his death, he was suffering. But yeah, not much of an it's a tough organization he's the head of. Yes, question from the group. Natalie.
Anshin, what do you think of churches or institutional churches in general?
Well, I wish someone would give me one. They make a great Zen center. If they serve a useful purpose in people's lives, then whatever tradition, I don't have any issues. But it's when the sole purpose is to develop market share, to create separation, then that's not the point, regardless of the tradition. Yes, and so it really depends. It's like in all of the miles I've walked in pilgrimage, it was never the religious organization that turned me away. It was always a particular person and their interpretations, the intellectualization of teachings. A question that was mailed in. When I remain silent, how can truth be recognized? Yeah, by not thinking about it. That's the point of being silent. The truth is known. It's so obvious if we stop attempting to see it, to create it, to discover it, to claim it. Question from the group. Yes, Kelby.
Actually, what would you say is the difference between intellectualization of a teaching versus study?
Well, study has an intellectual component to it. I mean, the intellect is a piece of this process. But when there's too much dependence on that, that's when problems arise. So study. There's different ways to study. As I put myself into life, I'm also studying. I'm observing myself and my responses or reactions to the world around me. I'm observing the world's response to my reactions or responses. I'm intently observant about nature, the way it shows itself, what it communicates to us. Study. And I read. Yes, I read voraciously. All sorts of books related to practice in some way or other. Understanding that which I read and that what I'm processing is with the intellect. So how to hold the totality of the experience, which is more than intellectual. Question from the group. Okay, Getzigan and then Shabam.
Hi, Anshin. Hi, Kenshin.
Hey.
Anshin, what is your position on dispute and on arguing?
Well, it depends on the circumstance. I'm not an arguer. Not anymore. There's no point. Yes. I'm not attempting to... Arguing is about convincing. I'm often not much in dispute because dispute is also a form of arguing. It's like I have takes all the energy I have to just be present. It's not that big a deal. I had a really interesting experience yesterday. So I was driving my 1985 car, and I was pulling out onto the street. There was a car coming from behind me. He wasn't even close when I pulled out. They just laid on the horn. Whenever I hear a horn in traffic like that, it is an invitation for me to get like really, I don't like it. And so I usually do something not necessarily supportive. Yes. And sometimes what I do is I just slow down. I go really slow, and while it doesn't seem to be aggressive, it's intensely aggressive. I might give some obscene gesture. I might yell some obscenities in my head to myself. But in this case, my immediate reaction was, what? Nothing to argue about, nothing to dispute. I just kept driving. That doesn't mean that a lot of other thoughts weren't running through my head, but my immediate reaction was something different. No argument, no dispute. Yes, it's not worth it. What's the point? If you don't agree with me, that's what I say here. I respond to your question. If you don't agree with me, it's okay. You're entitled to your position. If you want to argue with me, what you're telling me is you're not so secure in your position because you're trying to convince me. You can do what you want to do. All decisions carry consequences. We can't just do whatever we want and expect there to be no consequences. Consequences aren't always negative. They certainly can be, though. Siobhan.
When you were on pilgrimages, or when you are on pilgrimages, what is it like to ask for food or shelter, basic needs, and be refused?
So, back to the Catholic Church. Well, I guess this is the church was still happening. St. Francis of Assisi, who had been a former soldier, is attributed with saying, rejection is perfect joy. In my case, when people say no, it gives me an opportunity to really experience my conditioning. So the first no is usually, it's pretty okay. I can bow and thank them. The second no, in the same time period, I can say no. I can say thank you. The third no, it's a little more challenging. I can say thank you. Now here's how it works. This is the absurdity of things. So I'm walking in a particular country, and there is a monastery from a particular tradition. It's up on a hill. If there was one room, there was like 160. So I approached this monastery, explained who I was, what was going on, and asked them if they could provide a simple place to stay and simple food to eat. And the response was, oh, we don't have enough room. I mean, the absurdity of that, So it's just like, it gives me it's just an experience. I get to learn and grow from it. And in truth, people are not obligated, even though their tradition, whatever it is, encourages them. They're not obligated. So I have to look at my expectations. So it's a very, very good experience. Not always pleasant, but good. Question from the group. Yes, KL.
Hello, AnShin and Kenshin.
Hello.
AnShin, have you ever had any conversations with chaplains in the military about their role and the the difficulties that it poses?
Yeah, actually I have. And it's interesting for me to observe the role of the chaplain in the military. I'm not in favor. It's so antithetical to the traditions they're ordained in. I also have been informed, I haven't experienced this, but I have been informed the primary responsibility of these chaplains is to proselytize, to convert. I've had a number of interactions with active duty military and with chaplains, and they would rather not have me around because I want to talk about the truth, the realities of military service. I don't want to gloss that over. I had dialogue with someone, a young man who was one of the first Buddhist chaplains. At a certain point, he stopped writing with me because he didn't have the capacity to work with the complexities of the reality where he was serving and the essence of the tradition he was ordained in. It is a challenge to work with these paradoxes. If I'm not willing to work with them, to engage with them, I'm not honoring the tradition I was ordained in, regardless of what that tradition is. Question from the group. Oh, Kenshin.
Considering that you have a lot of experience, life and monastically, how do you save yourself from getting superior, being a know-it-all?
simple. Well, there are times when I actually do feel that. I do feel sometimes a bit superior, although I know I'm not. But it's really true. In some circumstances, I am. I have to be able to acknowledge that in a healthy way.
Yeah.
I'm more learned. I'm more experienced. I need to be willing to acknowledge that. At the same time, acknowledging that I'm not done. There's more to learn. There's to be willing to go more and more deeply into this experience that we call the human experience. And there's a saying I keep foremost in my mind, and this sort of lines up with Fayan. So years ago, decades ago, even before I entered into this study and into this path, I met a man. He was a truck driver, a big one, articulated lorry.
Yeah.
And he would often say, the moment I think I got my stuff together, I'm face down in it. Now, he didn't say stuff. He used another word. But I understood exactly what he meant. And so it's been, and he was channeling Fayan without having any awareness of that. Practical, not spiritual. The moment I think I got my stuff together, I'm in trouble. So I have to be aware. Just because my mind says it's true doesn't necessarily make it true. It doesn't make it untrue. Truth is revealed through the process of experience. Question from the group. Yes, KG. Nice to see you, KG.
What is humanity for you, AnShin?
Men, women, and everything in between. But let me answer from this perspective.
Humanness.
Humanness, yeah, perhaps humanness.
Oh, humanness.
Okay, thank you.
Brushing my teeth. Yes. Taking a shower. Shaving, cleaning the hair off my face and head, washing my clothes, and accepting my responsibilities as the steward of this interconnected reality that I have been privileged to be a part of, to not create more harm, to not consciously create more suffering. Ask me next week and I'll add some more things. Question from the group. Yes, Nyoko.
AnShin, how has it been for you moving from New England last week? How's your transition been returning to Florida?
It takes a bit of time. I'm really conscious of that. It's like everything is different. The weather's different. The vegetation is different. Even the color of green is different. To notice that, because another time zone. So it takes some time, it takes some time and patience to allow to just settle. So I just, in the process, do simple things. Wash dishes, help Kenshin bag leave, help feed the cats, the wild animals. Yes, just to give myself the time to settle in. Even the change in elevation. Also in New England, spring was just beginning to come. So there was a certain kind of pollen. And also it's a very dense, the geography is different. Down here, we're like in the second phase of spring. So the pollens are different. My body reacts to them differently. Yes, I have to give myself a chance to acknowledge those things. I don't necessarily, can't necessarily get my mind around it, but just to do it. Question from the group. Getsugen.
I have a question regarding the sixth precept.
Well, then ask it.
Yes, it's the one about not talking about others' errors and faults. And I'm curious whether you never talk about others' errors and faults, and you always abstain from blaming and criticizing others. I was just curious.
So, really, I've stopped blaming. I really don't. Not even in my mind. Sometimes criticism is important. It's not always negative criticism. So I've stopped criticizing people for my own advantage. But I have a responsibility. I have a responsibility to be critical with myself, as well as others that I'm interacting with, who've given me permission to do that. Yeah, a little gossip is okay. A little gossip is good for you. I just don't do it too much. No. Generally, I don't do it. I don't talk about others. Generally. Sometimes. Yes, because it's also a way for me to process an experience. I'm cautious with whom I do that with, because they understand that I'm involved in a process. I made an effort doing it. I made an effort talking to the cats doing this, but I have difficulty in understanding their response. I'm yet not too proficient. I'm not totally fluent in cat. Yeah, so I don't do it generally, and I don't like to be around where it's being done.
Yeah.
But I do it sometimes it's because it's helpful to me. But I'm cautious where and with whom I do that with. I just don't blame people anymore.
Yeah.
There's just no point in it. And where necessary and with whom I have that permission, I am critical. Question from the group. Yes, Isabel.
So how important are taking a break, relaxing, just laying around, just to restore yourself?
That's a myth. It's really a myth. If I have to do that, then I shouldn't be doing what I'm taking a break from. I don't take breaks, ever. I don't need to. I don't need to go on vacation. It's a privilege for me to do what I'm doing. It's a privilege to have the opportunities that I have. Yeah, the myth of taking breaks. Yeah, if I need to take a break, then I oughtn't to be doing what I'm doing. I'm looking to escape somehow, and there isn't any escape. What I do is restorative. It's constantly restorative. Question from the group. Now, if your experience is not like that, it doesn't mean that your experience is bad or that I'm being critical about your experience. I'm really presenting information about what my experience is, and it gives you something to weigh what's going on. Question from the group. Yes, KG.
With getting older, have you become more patient or rather a little bit more impatient?
Oh, more patient, much more patient. Yeah, and it's interesting. I met with someone whom I've known for decades. They're in Italy, and their experience is the opposite. As they get older, they become less patient. I know any number of people who, as they become older, they become less patient. I become a lot more patient. Oh, I'm not older, getting older yet. When I crack 3 figures, then maybe. Question from the group. Yes, and in the midst of what I do, Isabel, you've noticed, I play in the midst of what I'm doing. That's an essential part of what I'm doing. Well, what I'm doing is about life and death. It's about awakening and staying trapped in cycles of suffering. While it's intensely serious, there's also space to play. Also, question from the group. Yes, Genrai.
Have you been inspired by Thomas Merton and Enomiya-LaSalle, and if so, how?
I don't know much about LaSalle. Yes, Merton's, he's been highly inspirational because of the way he engaged in his particular practice in a very Fayanish way. Yes, it was. I just really so appreciated him. The model that he shared. I also appreciated his intellect, his intellectual view of the world and the way he lived in it. LaSalle I just don't know so much about. It was like when I first started on this path, but I could not smile. I was afraid that if I smiled, it would be a betrayal of how profoundly I suffered. And practice really didn't begin to unfold for me until I took the risk. First to smile, to be a bit childlike. In an appropriate way. To do that requires me to be incredibly vulnerable. There is no awakening without vulnerability.
Thank you for listening to this episode on Zalto Live. If you would like additional information, please look at the show notes or visit zalto.org. That's ZALTHO.org. Our work is made possible solely through donations, so please consider making a tax-deductible gift on our website. We wish you well and thank you.